I'm David Goforth with Cooperative Extension Successful Gardener. Today I want to show you about growing shiitake mushrooms. I've been growing them for about 25 years and I'm fairly comfortable with the shiitake mushrooms. It's sort of interesting, there's been more and more interest in mushrooms, and there's about 5 different types being grown in Cabarrus County this year. But with the shiitake mushrooms, we start off with a log, doing natural log inoculation. And this is an ideal log right here, about 4 or 5 foot long, about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. You don't want to get much less than 3 inches in diameter, or your heartwood will not support the log. And if you get much bigger, it just gets heavy and hard to handle. It actually would grow the mushroom. Mushroom grows in the sapwood here. So what I'll do is get this is white oak here, but you can also grow it on hickory, like this one here. I've got some red oak in here. I've grown it on white oak, red oak, maple, and hickory. It'll also grow on the hard maple, even about as good as it will the white oak. Been told it'll grow on the white cherry. No, it will not grow on elm. It will not grow on ash. In fact, I haven't found one of the edible mushrooms that'll grow on ash. So try to get an oak if you can. Try to get it fresh. It needs to be fresh. If there's mushrooms already in here, it'll just eat your shiitake. Your shiitake is not a very competitive mushroom, so you've got to cut this fresh, ideally within about 2 weeks. Cut it within 2 weeks, inoculate it with a spawn, as I'll show you in just a second here. So you take the logs, cut logs like this. The second thing you've got to do is get the spawn. I've ordered the spawn here, and what spawn really refers to is a type of media, which is a lot of sawdust in this, sometimes a little bit of grain mixed in, sawdust and grain, that has been inoculated in a sterile environment. They put it in this bag here, autoclave the media, and then they will put the spawn through this hole here and get it to growing through this, and then you buy this bag right here. This is a cultivar called Bellwether, and what I've learned is that there's a number of cultivars actually. There's some wide range cultivars, some cool weather cultivars, and some warm weather cultivars. And so getting a mixture of these will actually give you shiitakes at different times of the year. You buy this and the mycelium will be growing through it. You don't necessarily notice the mycelium here, but it was growing through this here. You can store this at room temperature for a week or so. Much longer than that, I would put it in the refrigerator. I'm going to put it into a container here so I can pick it up with my inoculation tool. Okay, I have built me a stand here so I can support the log on it, and if I had it do over with again, the stand would only be about this wide. Originally made it this wide because normally my log will fit there, but every once in a while you have a shorter log, and I had to put this extra thing in here to hold the shorter log. I think it'd be fine if you put it about this width to begin with. This stand here is designed, I can put my wax up here that I'll use to cover the inoculation, put my inoculation tool and my drill up here on top and get it real easy. This is real good for one individual to work with. If I was going to try to set up a stand where I thought I might have 2 or 3 people working, I would design it a little bit different, maybe put a set of rails, but again, about this width, about this height right here. At this point, I'm going to drill holes within the wood to inoculate the wood. I want to go down through here about every 3 to 6 inches this way, and do that about 4 times in a log this size. So about 2 to 3 inches apart this way, 3 to 6 inches apart this way. This drill bit is a precise size for this inoculation tool here, and it's got an automatic stop on it. It's got an adapter so you can put it to an angle grinder, a regular size angle grinder, not your little bitty cheap ones. So this is a tool that I found has really speeded up my process using it here. At this point, taking the spawn and put it into the container. This particular one right here has lasted better than the other style. So this is the style I would suggest getting here to start with it. When you take this spawn here, you want to pack it down to the point where it feels about as hard as the wood. It's in there very tight. In fact, I can turn it upside down, it wouldn't fall out on its own. So let me just go along here, inoculate this one. Again, this is shiitake mushroom here. The others, there's several that you could do this same way. You might have to choose a different substrate. Oyster doesn't do real well on oak, so oyster mushroom you would do on an elm or poplar. Once you've got it down through like that, pick up the wax. This is regular cheese wax here. I've got it melted down, and I've got a little dauber here that allows me to take a little bit, and you'll splatter it everywhere. So you've got to be careful with it. Now, once you get the log completely inoculated, waxed, we move it to what we call a laying yard, and the laying yard will allow this mycelium to grow out from the sawdust, finish growing through the sawdust, and start growing out into the wood, running up and down the tree, running left and right, colonizing the wood. Once the mycelium gets to a certain point, it will try to initiate mushrooms, and when it initiates mushrooms will pop out when the weather's correct. And in about 7 days, they will get full size to where you harvest them. What you do is you watch the little mushrooms come out, and they've got a closed cap. And then as the cap gets bigger, that's the time to harvest it. Before the cap goes up like that, once you get to that point, it's beyond the best taste. As long as it's still soft, you can eat it, of course, but then you really not get as good a taste as if you catch it when the cap's like that. And that takes sometimes around 7 days from the time you see the little pinheads to the point where the cap is ready to harvest. And it'll be various sizes based on the environmental conditions. It will normally or naturally fruit during the spring and fall is most of the strains I have. Some strains will go on into summer, and I've seen them go on into the winter very well, from September through December, based on, again, the weather. You can force these things to pop at other times if you've got the right strain, and then you've also got the right conditions. What you'll do is take this here and either put it in a bucket of water, a trough of water, leave it submerged for a while, 24, 36 hours, then bring it out and set it up, which will initiate the mushrooms to come out. It's really a fairly simple process to do this and to get the mushrooms growing. And they are very tasty. You can harvest them. Normally, I will do a stir fry with them, have put them in soups and done other things with them, but they will make a very good meal for you and actually taste quite a bit better, just like any homegrown thing will taste better than what you find in the store. I've normally been putting a little bit of a tag on the end so I know later what I'm dealing with here. I can identify the wood with no problem, so I don't put the wood on there, but I do put the name of the strain, which I've got. Again, I've used Bellwether here, I've used Night Velvet's the other one that I've used, and just tag this to the end of the log. Now, once we finish waxing this thing and tagging it, we need to take it down to the laying yard where it will stay for about 6 months before it ever produces a mushroom, possibly up to a year before it produces a mushroom. And then an oak will continue to produce mushrooms for about 5 years. Sometimes your sweet gums and maples will go a lot quicker than that. They won't last but 1 or 2 years, 2 years maybe. But this is something that you do and then allow it to consume the sapwood and produce the mushrooms from the sapwood. Let's go down here to the laying yard and I'll show you what this looks like. Here's some logs I've done 1 or 2 years ago, and they are, this one is not a real productive one, but what I've done, I've stacked these log cabin style here, and they can set this log cabin style without taking up a lot of space until they start popping mushrooms. And then I would probably want to lean them out along so I could get to the mushrooms and harvest them a little easier. I've got some down here that I've leaned up against the trees, sort of on the east, northeast side of the trees where they're in the shade most of the afternoon. Those have done real well. And the ones I've done this year, I've got them laying down here, sort of what we call a low pile. They'll lay down real close to the ground, stay moist in the shade here until they have run, and then I will prop them also up so I can pick them a little bit easier. Shiitake is a fun mushroom to produce. It is actually one of the easier mushrooms to produce. There's some others if you want a real challenge on the mushrooms. All of them are a lot of fun to try to grow and see what you can do with them. And again, there's been a lot more interest in mushrooms in recent years. If you have any questions about mushrooms, give me a call at the office. And until next time, plant and plant for a better world.